Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today we're digging into 5 key stories curated by White Sky Hospitality. These are really shaping things for hoteliers like you. We'll cover tech, global trends, data, basically what's happening right now in hotel and travel distribution. Think of this as your quick update on understanding the market. Okay, let's jump in.
Absolutely. And these aren't just, isolated news items. They signal some pretty fundamental shifts. How tech is used, market priorities. Understanding these is really crucial to staying competitive.
Right. So let's start with Japan. Their AI adoption seems, different. Less about jumping on trends, more practical business fixes, like rail travel anticipating what users want, or KabuK style. They got 80% accuracy mapping really inconsistent room data for their half-H service. That sounds tricky.
It really is impressive, and what it shows us, I think, is a key insight here. Japan's fragmented accommodation descriptions, that inconsistency in data, it creates genuine barriers for AI. KabuK-style success hitting that 80%, it really tells hoteliers. Getting your own data house in order, pushing for shared standards, that's vital.
Otherwise, you're leaving potential on the table.
Exactly. Efficiency gains, personalization.
Right.
It's all tied to that data foundation.
Okay, so from that specific AI use case, let's zoom out. Big picture. The World Economic Forum's tourism growth projections. They're talking about, $16 trillion contribution to global GDP by 2034.
16 trillion, yeah. And 30 billion tourist visits. The scale is just enormous.
Which means needing something like 7 million more hotel rooms. Trillions in investment. So what's the heads up for hotels here?
Well, the growth is huge, obviously. But the real takeaway is the challenge that comes with it. Hoteliers need to be thinking proactively about sustainable growth. How do you manage that influx?
You mean things like overtourism?
Precisely. Look at Dubai, projected visitor-to-resident ratio of almost 7-to-1. Phuket's already at 118-to-1. It's staggering. And then there's the environmental footprint emissions possibly hitting 11-15% by 2034, plus needing 100 million new jobs.
So it's about managing that growth responsibly.
That's the core challenge, yes.
Okay, let's shift gears to a company driving a lot of this growth. Trip.com, they dominate China, over half the market, 500 million people traveling just during Chinese New Year. That's mind-boggling. And their revenue mix is interesting. 40% lodging, 40% transport, 8% tours. Very different from competitors who lean so heavily on just accommodation.
Right, the diversification is key to their model.
They invest heavily in tech, too. But are there sort of potential headwinds for them, especially moving into Western markets? Trust issues, maybe?
Definitely. Their tech focus is intense. 27% of net revenue into R&D, 70% of bookings on mobile apps. Their AI assistant, Trip Genie, apparently doubled conversion rates. But you hit the nail on the head. Despite that $41 billion market cap, geopolitical friction and building trust in the West are significant hurdles.
It's a reminder that even giants face local challenges.
Absolutely. Market context is everything.
And that tech focus, the mobile apps, the AI, it's all about capturing traveler confidence, right? So what's the global picture there? Allianz Partners data shows pretty strong intent, over 80% in APAC planning travel in 2025. Europe's strong too, but Japan stands out again, only 30%. That's quite low. The U.S. is around 63% optimism for summer travel. What's behind these numbers?
Yeah, the variation is interesting.
Yeah.
But the dominant theme really is financial constraints. That's the biggest barrier almost everywhere. You've got 69% of Americans citing budget limits, 38% of Europeans saying they lack funds for travel.
So money is the main sticking point.
Pretty much. And it's creating what some call a bifurcating travel market, a split. Average U.S. spending is still quite high, nearly $2,900. But look at Australians and New Zealanders, they're way ahead, over $5,000 and $4,600 respectively.
Wow. So hoteliers need to cater to very different spending levels.
Exactly. Tailoring offers is going to be increasingly important.
Okay, last topic for today. Data sovereignty. This feels like it's gaining serious momentum. Hotels are moving beyond just integrating tech. They're focusing hard on data governance, especially with GDPR, CCPA, Brazil's LGPD, South Africa's POPI. The regulations are tightening.
This is a really profound shift, actually. It's not just a compliance exercise anymore.
Right. So why is it more strategic now?
Because the insight here is that data sovereignty equals strategic advantage. It's an asset. Hotels now have to vet vendors based on security certs, encryption, compliance history, not just features. Guest data is incredibly sensitive, and governments can compel access, remember? But the crucial part is this. Truly owning and governing your data gives you operational flexibility.
Flexibility how? Like switching systems.
Yes, exactly. Switching
Yeah.
CRM systems, launching new loyalty programs. Solid data governance makes all that possible smoother. It becomes a competitive edge in building loyalty and just being agile.
Okay, so let's tie this all together. What's the big picture for hoteliers listening? We've got AI in Japan pushing data standards, massive global growth needing sustainable plans, Trip.com's tech push hitting trust walls, travel confidence splitting by budget.
And underpinning so much of it is this shift towards strategic data governance.
It seems like everything points back to data and navigating this really dynamic, changing landscape.
Right, which leads to, I think, a really important question for everyone listening. As all this information keeps flowing, as regulations keep evolving, how much is your hotel's future really tied to not just owning your data, but deeply understanding what it means for security, for the guest experience, and for staying ahead of the competition?
Definitely something to think about this week. We hope this deep dive gave you some valuable insights to chew on. Until next time.